Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about AI in payments. And I think we've all been exposed to artificial intelligence. That's the technology that powers things like cashierless stores and self-driving cars. And I think what's been fascinating about the technology is that even though it has existed for many years, what's happened of late is that the algorithms have become extremely powerful, and the availability of computing power by orders of magnitude more powerful has in a way changed the game. So, for example, years ago, we may have been able to create say a self-driving car, but it would maybe cost $20 million in hardware, and the hardware would fill an entire data center. Now, fast forward to today, and if we're able, for example, to create a self-driving car with say $100,000 of equipment and put that equipment in the trunk of the car, then we basically go from a lab prototype to something that's become all of a sudden almost commercially viable. um, so it's a truly fascinating technology, and of course, it also has some challenges or some areas that deserve to be explored, such as um, ensuring that it doesn't code in biases, and it deals with ethical issues in a proper way. When it comes to payments and fintech, I think there are two key areas where AI becomes a bit of a game changer. Broadly speaking, I would say one area involves, say, risk and compliance, and the other involves kind of a revolution in customer engagement. So let's start with risk and compliance. AI results in, for example, higher approval rates, fewer declined transactions. It's an incredibly powerful tool to stop fraud and financial crime. For example, Visa, MasterCard have introduced a new standard called 3DS 2.0 that leverages AI in terms of the ability to prevent fraud on credit card transactions. That's a great example of the use of AI. And essentially, what AI enables is to combine convenience with better protection, which is really the best of both worlds. So if you can, leverage things like biometry to at the same time increase security and increase convenience for the consumer, then you really have created a great environment. So, why is AI so powerful in terms of stopping fraud and crime and increasing auth rates? For example, because it's so powerful in terms of its capacity to process data. For example, if we're talking about a bank account or a digital wallet, and you're looking at a transaction, AI affords you the possibility to look at the transaction, to look at the account. What patterns has this account had in the past? Is this transaction consistent with past usage, or is it an outlier? All of a sudden, in the past 3 years, the transactions were $80, and all of a sudden you've got a massively higher transaction. Is that consistent with the pattern? And also, it can look at the entire ecosystem, not just the transaction, the account, but the community. What other accounts, internal or external, transact with this account? Is there a pattern? Is there a circle? Is there some activity that could be considered unsavory? So AI has the power to do all these in quasi real time, and bring out elements which are often not visible to the naked eye. For example, in banking or digital accounts, AI can detect linked accounts. In other words, accounts that on the surface appear to be unrelated, but upon a much deeper study, the algorithms can show that all these accounts use the same password, or are accessed via the same IP address, or have something in common, or transactional flows which are strange in nature. And that is extremely powerful to weed out the bad actors. The other area, which I think is, if not equally or even more fascinating, is the appending of customer engagement. And you've got basically two sides to that part. One is let's call it the reactive communications component. So in other words, AI powering call centers, chatbots. So when you contact your bank or your merchant or your digital wallets provider, oftentimes we are actually serviced by a virtual agent. Hi, I'm Emily. Tell me what you're calling about, and somehow they use speech recognition to direct your call and connect you with billing or repairs or customer support or whatever the internal group that is more relevant to your query. Same for chatbots where the interactions happen with a machine. I would say in sometimes it's almost hard to tell that you're interacting with a machine and not with a human. Because as time goes by, the algorithms are really good, and oftentimes you may even get almost, I would say, a better service by dealing with a machine. So that's definitely one area where I think that the percentage of communications that are going to be driven through AI algorithms are going to become, the norm in terms of consumer interactions. But beyond that, I think there is a second area which I think is even more promising and fascinating. And I would call it mass customization or mass personalization. So if you go back to the old days where consumers would deal with mom and pop stores, small clothing boutiques, a restaurant, where the consumer had a particular relationship with the owner, with the manager. They knew their taste, what kind of food they like, what kind of shirts they like. With the advent of the Walmarts, the Costco's, the Amazons, we've gained tremendous economies of scale in terms of distribution. But at the same time, in many cases, we've lost the personal touch. The fact that you knew the owner, they knew that you liked, mussels with fries or whatever, or blue shirts. And AI holds the potential or the promise to re-inject that level of personalization, customization, but this time using technology. So, for example, if I'm a customer at a certain, let's say, clothing store, and I've never been to the one in Las Vegas, for example, but somehow they know that I'm in the vicinity through GPS and all kinds of things, I may get a text from the manager of the store saying, "Hi, Daniel, we've never met. I'm the manager of the store here. I know that you're in the vicinity. I'd love to, invite you for coffee. And by the way, we just got the spring collection. I'd like to grant you, 20% discount if you know." And whether I take them up on the offer or I pass on it, I'm going to feel like $1 million. I'm going to feel valued, appreciated. And that's, I think, the key to kind of using AI to inject mass personalization into today's world. Now, maybe looking back at how to take advantage of those technologies, there are a number of tools. For example, the access to real-time analytics, the ability to create very very customized offers. Because I think the difference, in terms of making offers or promotions available to consumers. At one end of the spectrum, it could be perceived as spam, being swamped with offers that are not relevant. And at the other, when AI is used and only the offers that are really relevant, that the consumer really wants to receive, are put forth, then it's night and day. You can get a totally different reaction by the consumer that doesn't feel almost persecuted by offers. And it kind of matches sort of the expectation on the part of the consumer. So I guess in short, I think AI is a powerful, provides a powerful set of tools to change and improve dramatically the consumer experience. So thank you for watching, and watch out for opportunities to leverage AI in your merchant journey.